Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. Today, you're listening to the last of a 4-part series on goal setting and breaking bad habits while setting good ones. I'm joined today again by Erika Forsyth. You can learn more about her at erikaforsyth.com. If this is your first time listening to the Juicebox Podcast and you'd like to hear more, download Apple Podcasts or Spotify, really any audio app at all. Look for the Juicebox Podcast and follow or subscribe. We put out new content every day that you'll enjoy. Want to learn more about your diabetes management? Go to juiceboxpodcast.com up in the menu and look for Bold Beginnings, the Diabetes Pro Tip series, and much more. This podcast is full of collections and series of information that will help you to live better with insulin. Please don't forget that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan or becoming bold with insulin. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the Omnipod 5. Learn more and get started today at omnipod.com/juicebox. Check it out. Dexcom sponsored this episode of the Juicebox Podcast. Learn more about the Dexcom G7 at my link, dexcom.com/juicebox. AG1's NextGen is now one of the most clinically backed greens powders. They went above and beyond the industry standard in testing and have made a great product even better. That's right, today's episode is sponsored by AG1. Use my link, drinkag1.com/juicebox to get started, and new subscribers will receive a free bottle of AG-D3K2, an AG1 welcome kit, and 5 of the upgraded AG1 travel packs with their first order. drinkag1.com/juicebox. Erika, in the last part of this series, we ended talking about how to build good habits. Today, we're going to start with how to break bad habits, but you thought it would be a good idea if we just did a quick review about good habit building before we got started. So jump right in.
Yes, thank you. So again, these are the 4 laws of behavior change from Atomic Habits from James Clear's book. And how to build the good habit is make it obvious, make it attractive, make it simple, convenient, easy, and make it satisfying. In the previous episode, we kind of went through some more examples. So if you missed that, you can go back to that. But the inverse of that, which is just as almost important, right? Because as we talk and think about wanting to start new habits, build new systems, often we do have to replace or interrupt or break that bad habit that we are conditioned. I was just actually listening to, I don't know if you've listened to Mel Robbins, and she was talking about how she is a classic procrastinator. And the first thing she does every morning is hit the snooze button. And so which, I'm guilty of, but I do try and use it as a pre-bolus, but then that's your first habit of the day. You're telling yourself that you are procrastinating, right? Yeah. Again, guilty of hitting the snooze button.
Are you saying for diabetes, your alarm goes off, you bolus a little bit, then go back to sleep and let the bolus work?
Yes.
Well, you could talk yourself into saying that that's a good habit.
It is a good, yes. And I used to not set my alarm early enough, so then that would interrupt the flow of my family morning. But now I try and set my alarm a little bit earlier. I hit my, pre-bolus for my coffee and my dawn phenomenon, and then 10 more minutes. Then I kind of get some, time to get working.
Yeah. Before we go on, can I ask you, is it dawn phenomenon you have or feet on the floor? Do you get
excuse me. Well, I have both. And I've always, morning has always been a battle. And it wasn't until recently, well, I don't know, in the last 10 years maybe, that I realized I just not only needed to increase my basal rates, but just give myself 3 units has been the magic number for me.
When you wake up?
When I wake up. And I don't eat anything until later in the day, like 11 or 12, but that's for my coffee and feet on the floor.
Yeah. Has the feet on the floor been more aggressive since you've had kids?
Yes. Yeah. And getting older and entering into, various stages of life.
Various stages. She's looking at me like, don't ask me which stage I'm in. Just
I know, but you all can guess. Yeah. That's a whole other episode.
Party.
Yeah.
If you're trying to build a good habit, it's funny because when I look at make it obvious, attractive, simple, satisfying, It actually kind of goes back to me to something like very simple, like just talking somebody into taking a vitamin. It's a hard thing to do because you can say, oh, this is going to help you with that. But the satisfying part doesn't often come quickly enough for you to feel like your effort is maybe paying you back right away. And that's why it's funny, before we started talking, I told you with Arden, I said to her, look, there's this thing, it's, that I think you should take every day. I explained to her why, trying to make it obvious. I told her what I thought could come of it, I guess making it attractive. And then I still looked at that look on her face and I said, I will be in charge of handing you the tablet every day to make it simple. And now we're just trying to keep those three things chugging along long enough for her to get to the satisfaction point.
Yes, that is so good.
But at the same time, she is a person with bad habits about taking vitamins, for example. So if I tried to just hand them to her or put her in charge of them or just said like, look, just do it because it's right, I don't think it gets done. It's interesting that your bad habits can be fighting you while you're trying to set a good habit into place.
Yes.
So I guess let's talk about how to break a bad habit.
Okay. So the first one, again, these are just kind of the inverse of making a good habit, is make it invisible, right? So, if you're trying to, very easy example is, not eat gluten or not eat, refined sugar products or alcohol or whatever it may be out of the house.
Yep.
And sometimes that might not be enough, right? So whether you put it in a different part of that's not in the kitchen, but out of the house, and then you really are having to think through, gosh, I really want this thing. I'm going to have to do 3 steps to go get the thing.
Yeah.
So making it invisible is the first one. Making it unattractive, right? So in the example of making it attractive, we talked about, what does the space encourage? What does, how can you maybe stack the habit? So if I do something, then once I do one habit, I'm going to do the next habit right after it. So you're making that easier or more attractive for you to be conditioned to do that thing. Making it unattractive, maybe you have a I know punishment's not as an interesting word. If you do the thing.
Consequence?
Yeah, maybe, I guess a consequence is the better word I was trying to find. Thank you. And it doesn't have to be, there's a lot of things of, taking money out of a piggy bank or putting money in every time you do something, but taking it out,
right, or
checking a box. There's different ways to think about it, but making it less desirable, less attractive to you. And I'm struggling to thinking of it in a good example, to be honest.
It's a physical manifestation. It's not a telling. You don't tell yourself like, oh, I'll be better off if I take my vitamin D. You say, if I don't do it, something happens.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
So you make something kind of punitive, like lose a penny out of a jar. You have a snack you love on Friday. You don't get 5 of them, you get 4 of them. Like, is it like something like that? Or can it be just in your head? Like, because it's funny, when you started talking about it, I thought, make it unattractive. I know you said that it's kind of the inverse. And then I looked up habit stacking, change your environment. That's a physical distinction to make it attractive. And when I thought of make it unattractive, I think it's funny. I think it goes to how my brain works. Like, I thought of like punishing myself almost in my head. And then I was like, well, that can't be what she means. Because I thought like, don't eat a thing because if you do, you'll weigh more. Like that kind of, and that's not a great way to like do anything. So make it unattractive.
This one is tough. So I guess like highlighting the benefits of avoiding your bad habits. So it is more of a mental.
It is
this
more
one.
Okay.
It's more of a mental habit to focus on the unattractiveness of that particular habit you're trying to break.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Kind of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because make it invisible and unattractive to me could kind of go hand in hand. Like the way you were talking about make it invisible, it actually made me think about like, if there's, using the idea of a snack in your house, if there's a snack in your house, it's not good, you throw it away. You now have to go into your car, drive somewhere, walk into a place, hold it in your hand, say to yourself, oh my God, I threw some of this out and I'm picking it up again. Punitively pay for it. Like you're now, you're being charged again for it. Drive it home with that thought in your head, stick it in your mouth. Like to me, those two things almost went hand in hand a little bit.
Yes, they do. They do.
Yeah. Okay. So I get what you're saying though. Like you're going to build a narrative for yourself about why this thing that you've now made invisible would be unattractive to bring back into your life again.
Yes.
And even if that's just a habit, like pushing the snooze button.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I push the snooze button. It makes me, I get sleepier. I feel a little lazy. I set an expectation for myself that I'm not a go-getter. There's a trickle-down effect. You walk yourself through why the thing is bad for you. Have you heard the news? AG1's NextGen is now one of the most clinically backed greens powders. They went above and beyond industry standards in testing and have made a great product even better. You know that I drink AG1 every morning, but did you know it just went through a major upgrade? AG1 NextGen is here. It's the same single scoop once a day, and the NextGen formula has been clinically shown to help fill common nutrient gaps, even in healthy eaters. I've been drinking AG1 every morning for years, and it's sort of the sponsor of my day, so it makes sense that it's the sponsor of today's episode. Subscribe today to try the NextGen of AG1. If you use my link, you'll also get a free bottle of AGD3K2, an AG1 welcome kit, and 5 of the upgraded AG1 travel packs with your first order. So make sure to check out drinkag1.com/juicebox to get started with AG1's NextGen and notice the benefits for yourself. That's drinkag1.com/juicebox. My daughter is 20 years old. I can't even believe it. She was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when she was 2, and she put her first insulin pump on when she was 4. That insulin pump was an Omnipod, and it's been an Omnipod every day since then. That's 16 straight years of wearing Omnipod. It's been a friend to us, and I believe it could be a friend to you. Omnipod.com/juicebox. Whether you get the Omnipod DASH or the automation that's available with the Omnipod 5, you are going to enjoy tubeless insulin pumping. You're going to be able to jump into a shower or a pool or a bathtub without taking off your pump. That's right, you will not have to disconnect to bathe with an Omnipod. You also won't have to disconnect to play a sport or to do anything where a regular tube pump has to come off. Arden has been wearing an Omnipod for 16 years. She knows other people that wear different pumps, and she has never once asked the question, should I be trying a different pump? Never once. Omnipod.com/juicebox. Get a pump that you'll be happy with forever.
Yes. And then highlighting, okay, the benefits. So when if I wake up without the snooze, I'm up before everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I already, very first habit of the day, you have that sense of accomplishment instead of waking up feeling like you're behind.
Yeah. So you almost take that scrolling thing and use it to help yourself. Like, the idea of, we talked about it earlier, right?
Yes.
Like that a social media algorithm can trick you into believing that just because you've scrolled something and tapped on things that you've accomplished something. You can tell yourself that by not snoozing your alarm, I've accomplished something. Give yourself a sense of accomplishment that you can then build on and move forward. I'm assuming make it difficult would be the equivalent of putting the phone across the room. So you had to get up to shut it off.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Putting the phone in another room, having more steps, kind of, it does pair with the invisible, right? Because you have to then, if you want the snack, you have to get in the car, go to the store between you. So you're increasing the number of steps between you and the bad habit.
Yeah, I'm looking at this, and these 4 things almost all pair together into like make it emotionally, physically, spiritually unattractive. Like the whole thing, like everything about it is unattractive. Making it divisible is making it unattractive. Making it unattractive, making it difficult is unattractive. And then the last part, make it unsatisfying. Again, you do something that, for me, a simple thing is like, if you people have been listening, I stopped eating fried foods and oils like years ago, right? And it is unsatisfying for me because I kind of get nauseous if I eat it now. And so invisible, I got rid of all the oil in the house. I kept behind a tiny little thing of canola because there's sometimes you just need it in some recipes for people. And we make our own popcorn. So listen, I might have spent $100 figuring out which oil you can pop popcorn in and have it be flavorful. And the answer, in case you're wondering, is coconut oil.
Oh, yum.
That's the one. I went through all of them and you get a flavor. It was weird. Saffron, this one, that one. Like I went through everyone. I got to coconut oil and I was like, this is good. Popcorn tastes good that way.
Wait, do it like an air popper, or how do you?
No, in a pan, like a man. What are you talking about? An air popper? I take an 8-quart pot. I put a couple of tablespoons of coconut oil in there. It's like goopy. You melt it down into a liquid. cover the bottom with the kernels, get it hot, put the lid on, you hear it start popping, you let a little steam out, boom, fills right up. Beautiful.
Okay. I was curious where you put the oil if it was an air popper.
Yeah,
but,
that's how I pop popcorn. So, but again, make it invisible. All other oil in my house, vegetable oil, grapeseed, safflower, anything we had in the house, I threw it away. And I want to tell you, I was met with resistance. But the people in my house were like, hey, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't think we should eat this anymore. And I had to like fight with them, but I took shit. Like I genuinely did. They're like, we like the popcorn better in canola. And I was like, we are not using canola anymore to pop popcorn. And they were pissed. Make it unattractive. I don't know if it ever worked for them because they didn't have a nauseous piece to it and they weren't paying attention to it. So any value that my extended family got out of me getting rid of the oils in the house, they don't know it happened. You know what I mean? Like, and I assume they did get value because I know I got a significant amount. I was paying really close attention to it. So the unattractive part was easy. Making it difficult, I got rid of it. You know what I mean? And to me, the unsatisfying part was kind of vacillated back and forth a couple of times, and you use it and you go, ooh, I don't feel good. You know, so it takes away any value you get from thinking the popcorn tastes better in canola oil than it does in coconut oil, which, by the way, gun to my head, it tastes a little better in the canola oil, okay? But it's good the other way and not objectionable. So anyway, I don't know. So I broke a habit of popping. Yeah, I broke a habit of popping my popcorn in canola oil. I'm assuming you could do it with something else. In being serious, because it's not my preference flavor-wise. It was not the preference of the people around me. I experienced peer pressure about it. There was a lot of different pressures, and I was like, no, I'm going to stand firm on this. How would that spin off into a more difficult thing? Quitting smoking, you know, not picking your toenails, like biting your fingernails, like stuff like that. I think you could do it. I think you could put these things into play and figure it out.
Yes. And, you know, I'm thinking about one example. I'll share this. My grandmother worked really hard. She is no longer with us, but she worked really hard at quitting smoking. She had a group, support group. And if she smoked one cigarette, she committed to writing a $10 check to the opposing political party of her preference.
Oh.
And that was enough for her.
It got her?
To keep her motivated because she was so passionate about her political party and knowing that would be the painful, very painful, unsatisfying, unattractive
things she couldn't live with at the end.
Things she could do. Yes. Yeah.
How long did she smoke for before she did this? Do you know?
Oh, probably 60 years.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, but I don't know, 50 years maybe. Yeah.
My father, who from the stories began smoking cigarettes when he was 12. Like when I was maybe 8 or 9, his employer offered him $1,000 cash to stop smoking. Now, if you can try to imagine, in 1978, we were a very blue collar family. Like it was a lot of money, and he did it. He did not smoke for however long. I think it was a month. And it's funny, as soon as they took the money, he got the money and there was no new, hey, don't smoke for a month. He just started smoking again. It wasn't long enough to break, I think, his physical addiction to it. So, and my dad had I think I've talked about it on here before, but like you go into a restaurant where they don't let you smoke. And inside of 3 minutes, he's red, sweating, like upset, frustrated. Like he was really, really hooked. But, it's funny enough, as he got older and he had a health issue, he stopped. Once the proverbial $1,000 was there constantly, he did stop doing it. So, I mean, I guess the goal is to like hook this around to diabetes is you've got to put yourself mentally in the place where you're actually going to be if you have a problem. You got to put yourself there before the problem exists so that you can avoid ever having the problem. Because, I mean, the worst thing I can think of after interviewing all these different people is getting to the point where you're having actual physical problems that maybe are not reversible. And now you make the decision to stop. You did the hard part and you did it too late. I just want you to do the hard part a little earlier. That's all.
If that worked, which we know it often doesn't, unfortunately, right? Like the not fear-based motivation, but like the fear and anticipation, anxiety around what could happen if we don't manage our diabetes. That's really hard to keep that front and center. So even though it's a reality, what we're hoping and what we're all working on daily, right, is to make those positive decisions of who you want to, like, what is your identity? Who do you want to be? You want to live a healthy, long life. And everyone I work with, that's your end goal. You want to live a healthy, long life. So that if that is your identity, how can you form a habit today to make that reality?
To support that. Yeah. Hey, listen, if I would have said it to my mom would have said, if wishes were horses, beggars would ride. So that's apparently a very old saying that means, yeah, sure. But that ain't going to happen. I do think that building like one good decision at a time, like you really do change over time. You just, it's hard to see sometimes. Listen, I was confronted this morning with a very rude person in public, and I was so genial and cordial and worked my way right through it. And even my daughter, who's only 22 years old, when we got outside said, oh my God, if that would have happened like 15 years ago. And I was like, oh yeah, that would have been bad. Like I would have had a completely different response. So you can change. Trust me. What happened to me today happened to me when I was 25. The person I was talking to would be crying. And instead I just smiled and waved. I just went right through it. So that's it. I'm now an adult.
Yeah, you made it.
Yay. I have 15 more years till my knee doesn't work, but I did it. We'll finish up this whole thing with like a nice big conversation about what gets in the way of habit setting. You can manage diabetes confidently with the powerfully simple Dexcom G7. Dexcom.com/juicebox. The Dexcom G7 is the CGM that my daughter is wearing. The G7 is a simple CGM system that delivers real-time glucose numbers to your smartphone or smartwatch. The G7 is made for all types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2, but also people experiencing gestational diabetes. The Dexcom G7 can help you spend more time in range, which is proven to lower A1C. The more time you spend in range, the better and healthier you feel. And with the Dexcom Clarity app, you can track your glucose trends, and the app will also provide you with a projected A1C in as little as 2 weeks. If you're looking for clarity around your diabetes, you're looking for Dexcom. Dexcom.com/juicebox. When you use my link, you're supporting the podcast. Dexcom.com/juicebox. Head over there now.
Yes. If it were just as easy as, from Skinner, right, who did all this, research that we can shape behavior with cue, craving, response, reward, right? If you precede behavior with the reliable cue and end it with the reliable reward, you can shape that middle behavior, which is some of what we've been talking about with how to create that good habits and, inversely how to break the bad habits. But as James talks about, and I think it's really important for us to know, like, we are emotional beings, right? So it isn't always as simple. Even as, you made that joke, like, it isn't as simple as like, well, I want to be a healthy person. So today I'm going to do this, this, and this. Yeah. So what gets in the way? So there are different themes I think we could talk about. Is it the theme, are you fearful? Is fear intervening or interrupting or preventing you from making that first change because of you don't know how, you don't know what it looks like, you don't have the support. And it's beyond just like willpower, right? Where
it's almost not classic fear. It's more like uncertainty, like underlying uncertainty. Yeah.
Yes. Are you stuck maybe in your systems right now or habits because you feel like you need to understand or perfect the process? Right? Like we talked a little bit about that. Like, are you gathering all of this information and doing all the research because you want to know exactly how to use the pump before you start using the pump? Or I don't know, trying to think of a diabetes example, because you feel like you don't want to start until you know it all. But as we know, it takes a lot of time. Yeah. Is it perfection that's keeping you stuck?
Right. I know you got one more leg to this, but I have to say, like, sometimes little sayings really help me. Fear is a liar has been a big help to me throughout my life, right? Fear is just anxiety, making up stories about what might happen. Perfection, I think there's a ton of honest truth about the fact that successful people often fail over and over again, which to me indicates they did not have a perfect system set up when they started. I don't think there's anything wrong with trying something, it not going well, stepping back, seeing where it went wrong, and just jumping right back in and trying it again. Like, what else are you doing? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. But it can feel really scary to take that first step when you feel like you have to know it all before doing it. And And so just acknowledging that, like, I'm feeling like I need to know it all. Like, just the power of naming that moment is really significant.
Well, if we could help people maybe with a personal like anecdote, and I'll see how much you're willing to share here. But I mean, I know there are people who listen to this podcast like, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about, but I am figuring it out as we're talking. And if I didn't talk, we wouldn't figure anything out. So you start and go. And Erika shared with me earlier, I think this is okay, so I can say this, but we were talking about the value of working together. And you know, you told people, well, tell them what you told me.
But actually when I prepare for our, recordings, it's beneficial for me personally, professionally, and I enjoy the process.
Right.
As well as the actual recording and conversation. Yeah.
But when we started, and the reason I appreciate you sharing that, I appreciate you allowing me to strong arm you into sharing that. The reason I bring it up is because when you and I started doing this together, you were not nearly as comfortable as you are now. You were good, but you're more comfortable now. And on top of that, like being able to say like, this is a great time for me to like, add to what I understand. Mm-hmm. You were a person who understood a lot when we started. If I go back to when you and I meet and I say, oh, Erika, you know what one of the great values of this is going to be? You would have been like, buddy, I already know what I'm doing. I know, like but then you end up learning. So, I mean, I get it. If you're an anxious person or you're super type A and you can't move without knowing where every step is, that's got to be difficult. But if you want to take it from a person like me who, I know I don't have a ton of anxiety and I'm not afraid to fail or have people point at me and say, he doesn't know what he's doing. I've had nothing but benefits from acting that way. You know what I mean? So anyway, what's the third leg of this here? Fear, perfection, and...
So, shame is obviously a biggie. We can get so stuck in, where you're at, and then you know the goal that you have. And I love this example. I think this is from also James Clear, but he talks about an acorn. And when we see an acorn on the ground, we never look at it and say, oh, that tiny acorn, and shame it and say, you're such a little thing. You haven't amounted to anything. The acorn is still growing, and it's going to do and grow and become a beautiful oak, right, someday. And similarly, if we can apply that when you were looking at yourself today, as I would talk to myself and say, gosh, you've never did this yet, or you haven't achieved that yet. Say, gosh, I'm still growing. We are still, just like, you shared too, like we are all learning and growing. And when we tell ourselves, shame on you, you haven't figured it out yet. Why haven't you done that yet? You're still a tiny acorn. We keep ourselves stuck there.
Yeah, absolutely. You're just a pair of little nuts.
Yeah. You couldn't wait to say that.
Yeah, I was so excited. One day they'll, one day you'll be what you mean to be. Like, not if you don't do it. Like, that's the truth. Like, it sounds like, it sounds like bro science, but like, you got to get out there and go do the thing. When people say things like, the only things I can't do are things that I haven't tried, I sort of believe that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I'm going to be able to dunk a basketball, but I could put a ton of effort into shooting a ball better and be better at it. Like, it's not a thing I'm excited to do, so I don't put my time into it. But if you're sitting around right now saying, I want to pre-bolus for my meals, but I can't seem to get it done, there's a way to set up good habits, get rid of your bad habits, and go from an acorn to an oak about pre-bolusing, or about, I don't know, putting an extra 5 seconds of effort in at a restaurant. I watched Arden do it last night. We went out to dinner and she bolused, and I was like, that is not enough insulin. Like, I could see it from across the table. I was like, that's not going to be right. And like, if she would have really looked at it, she could have seen like, oh, you know what? I do think this is more like 45. But she picked a nice, safe number and went with it. And an hour later, as her blood sugar started to go up, I said, Arden, hey, I didn't want to get involved earlier, but, I don't think you bolused enough for dinner. And she's like, oh, you don't think so? And I was like, no. And she went and looked, and she put more in, and she was good after that. Did she say to herself, I have to break bad habits and figure this out and set good? She didn't. Like, but you're listening to this. You're thinking about like, I have these shortcomings. I'd like to put better, processes in place to give myself more of a chance. You could easily be that person. Listen, if I'm good at diabetes, anybody can be good at it. I think that's just true. You know what I mean? And if so many people, like, go look at the reviews, except for the few people who don't like me, Go look at the reviews and say to yourself, at some point, this person leaving this review that's like, my God, my A1C is 5.3 or it's 6.2 or my variability is better. At some point, they were an acorn and now they're not, So.
And I love what you were getting into is the significance of the mindset. Like you said, maybe you can't, like the basketball, like you haven't tried it yet. And one thing that a lot of elementary schools teach is it's Magneti curriculum. It's about the importance of yet, the word yet.
Oh.
And so having a growth mindset means I haven't learned how to pre-bolus yet, or I haven't learned how to dribble the basketball yet, but I'm going to go learn how and practice, versus the fixed mindset is I'm never going to get it. We even have the phrase, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Like we have that anchored in our culture, in our mindset that like we're stuck in our ways. You aren't going to change me and I'm never going to be able to get that. So if you hear yourself having that, what's called a fixed mindset, feels like impossible to change. But adding that yet at the end of a sentence is so powerful. And so that's just something I was thinking about wanting to throw in here is whatever it is you're feeling stuck on, like I haven't done the thing or I'm never going to do it, or I don't know how, but just add in yet, right? It's adding hope.
Save like physical or financial restrictions. I can't think of anything I don't think I could accomplish if I put my effort into it. And making this podcast taught me that. It really did. Also, I get maybe that I have that, like my mind works in that direction anyway, because I think back to when I got the offer to write my book and I took it and I called my wife on the phone and I said, hey, I'm going to write a book. Like a publisher is going to pay me. I'm going to write a book. And my wife's first question, she didn't say congratulations. We knew each other for a while by then. She goes, can you write a book? And I paused and I thought, I guess I'm not sure like if I can write a book or not. But I said, I don't know. We'll find out. And if I can't, I'll just give them back the money. It's exactly what I told her. They're going to write me a check to write the book, write me another check when I'm done writing the book. I said, they'll write me the first check. I'll put it in the account. We'll sit on it. And if I can't deliver the manuscript, I'll give them the money back. Who cares? I think I can, and let's find out. And, I guess depending on how you feel about the book, you'll decide whether or not I could or not. But like, I did it. Like, you know what I mean? Like I put words together, put them in chapters, etc. They make sense. It's interesting though, like when you look at different people's mindsets, like it never occurred to me that I had never done that before. And when she heard that, it's all she thought of. You've never done that before. You've never done anything that would even indicate you could do this. You were a bad student. Can you even do this? And I was like, I don't know. Let's find out, So anyway, I'm
remembering all of our conversations around resilience, right? And how do you become a resilient individual? And is it, genetic, environmental, all those things?
Sure.
And so part of it probably might be that, but also you can shape your mindset.
I also have zero fear about anything. So to my own detriment sometimes, but I'm just like, if you're not pointing a gun at me, I'm like, we could probably work this out. Like I really don't have a ton of fear about things. Also, you only have to fail a certain amount of times in life and not die before you just go, oh, failing's not the worst thing that could happen. Oh, God, I'm going to sound like a t-shirt, but not trying is the worst thing that could happen. Like, you know what I mean? Like trying and failing just puts you back where you started. And you got a story maybe if you're lucky,
Yes.
So
yes.
What is this about your thoughts?
Okay. So with that, again, it's about the internal, like, are you keeping your thoughts, your goals, whether it's your negative self-talk, the shame, or even the goals, are you keeping it internal? Are you keeping it in your mind and your thoughts? That also will get in the way of habit forming, goal setting, instead of getting it out, like getting the systems out. That's a lot of the things that we've been talking about. Making good habits is about the physical cues, the physical symptoms. Your environment is really, really significant. So if you find that you're continuing to say to yourself, I got to do this, I got to achieve this goal, but you've changed nothing externally, whether it's the sticky note on the coffee pot or changing your room around or putting the yoga mat out or the exercise outfit out, the sticky note of a positive mantra on the mirror, whatever it is, I think that could keep you kind of stuck, right? If you're just thinking about it
and not do it
and not getting it out.
And by the way, in today's society, everything's so digitally based to begin with. Like, yeah, there's a ton of people who like, you'll see everywhere. They're like, I'm doing this, I'm starting that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And they never do it. But like some people do. Some people say, I'm going to make a podcast about diabetes. And 11 years later, they're still doing it. Maybe you won't be that person. But again, I think your point again is if you hold it inside, go, you know what I'm going to do? One day I'm going to get all my ducks in a row. And then when those ducks are lined up, you're never going to do it like that. And there is something to be said for saying it out loud. Makes you a little, I don't know.
More accountable.
Yeah, I guess accountability is the right word, right? Like, and again, you have to be not afraid to fail, but making yourself accountable, you'll find out if you're going to do it or not. Like that's for sure. Listen, there are a lot of things that you guys have listened to on this podcast, enjoyed, or it's helped you that just started with me going, I wonder what would happen if we did this. You know what I mean? I'm going to reach out to people and ask a question. I opened up a circle community that I think has like 1,000 people in it right now. And it's going to take me years to build it up, right? But it gets me out of like, I don't want to leave Facebook, but it relieves some of the problems that a Facebook ecosystem has. And I think it's going to be a valuable thing. I don't think it's ever going to be as big as the Facebook group, but I think it'll be really valuable for the people who find their way to it. I don't want to charge anybody for it. And it's expensive to run. So the first thing I did was I started a trial. And I said, are people interested in this? And they were. And I was like, okay. And then I got myself to the point where I could pay for the lowest tier of it myself. So I'm going to I'll pay the amount. And then there's some functionality that came out. And I was like, well, we really need to move up a tier if this is going to be really valuable for people. And I cold called some of my advertisers. And I was like, listen, I need an amount of money every year to run this thing. It is not going to pay you back in any way at all. And one guy said, I'll talk to you about it. And I have a phone call with him next month. So you guys might get a benefit because I was willing to call someone up and say, hey, here's a shot in the dark, but can I ask you a question? And, ask 4 people that question. And one of them was like, man, sure. I see you out there helping people. Like, I'll help you. I'm like, okay, so go for it,
Yeah, getting that out instead of just thinking about it.
Keep talking to myself about it. It ain't going to go anywhere. It just is. It's never going to work out. And maybe this won't work. But we're a lot closer to it working now than we would be if I just kept telling myself, like, it would be a great idea. It'd be a great idea. Big deal. No one knows but you.
Okay. So what else gets in the way of habit setting? The arrival fallacy, which is the belief that achieving a goal will lead to lasting happiness, right? So most common example, it's kind of an if-when, or when I lose the weight, or when I weigh this amount, or when I get this A1C, then I will be truly happy.
Nirvana comes then. Yeah.
Yes. Obviously, there are a lot of external and internal benefits from achieving some of those examples, right? But it can be a trap for us when we arrive to that goal and you still don't feel great about yourself, maybe mentally or emotionally. And then you realize, oh, that's really dissatisfying. But also the shame that you're not there yet. It goes back to the shame that keeping you stuck in where you are, right? Like, so I look this way, or can't get my A1C down, but I know when I get to that place, then I'll feel good. But gosh, I'm not there yet. And I just feel terrible about myself. The arrival fallacy is a pretty significant concern that prevents us from moving forward.
Yeah. Just the idea that like, once I do this, then it'll be perfect.
Yes.
Yeah. Once I get to this thing, then I'll be happy. Oh, if I make this much money, that'll be okay. Listen, I have to tell you, I think the opposite about it. I think humans are wired like ants. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think we are supposed to be picking up a pebble, walking to a spot, putting it down, making a hill, go and find another pebble, doing it again and again. Like, I think people are happier with a task. And like, what better task than making yourself a better version of you than you are today? Like, and, set a goal, get it done. And instead of wanting that like, I'm finally accounting for fat in my food when I'm bolusing, right? How come I'm not a foot taller, my skin's not shiny, and I don't have $1 million, right? And men and women aren't chasing me around all over. Like, how come I didn't turn into like, a Nirvana situation? I just look at it as like just one more little like thing we shined up. You know what I mean? And yeah, you die at the end and you're probably never going to get to perfection. But I think you feed that natural human instinct to move forward, to better yourself. I think you have to stop believing that it's a certain thing that'll make you happy and start believing that the pursuit of anything is kind of what makes you happy. You know what I mean? Like fulfilling your wiring, which is like trying. I don't know. That's how I find it to be, at least. I've had incredibly loser days, where everything I've tried to do is just fallen on its face. But like, I don't feel like, oh, I failed. I feel like, all right, we'll try something different tomorrow, and just keep, I don't know. I love that. I love using my own innate drive to make myself happy, if that makes sense.
Yes. Because in that it's about, it's about the journey, not the destination kind of irony, or not irony, but I know we hear that a lot, but it actually really is true, because if you anchor so much on the destination, then you could be miserable. You could never start, all the things that we've already mentioned. And I love kind of, you've set me up to use this quote from Carl Jung, who is a Swiss psychologist, psychiatrist. He created the theory of analytic psychology. And he said, you must love the thing you want to change. Essentially meaning that in order to truly change something within yourself or others, you need to accept and fully understand it fully. Even if it's initially like the thing inside you don't like, it's undesirable. Instead of condemning it, shaming it, this acceptance is akin to a form of love. So accepting that thing that is just, gosh, I really want to change, and loving that part of you enables you to step forward because you're not trapped in that fear and shame.
Right. Well, I'm going to share something with you guys. So the bones of this conversation over these number of episodes, Erika laid them out for me, right? And the way I want to be really transparent. Like, I come with the idea. I say the thing I said at the beginning. Erika lays out the bones of the conversation. She explains to me the reality of things. I reply with how I feel. Like, if you're not listening and understanding that already, like, that's how it happens, right? So we're at the end of this now. And I just said something that I did not plan on saying. It led Erika to her last thought. But while she was having that thought and sharing it with you, I went to our little friend on the internet. Okay. I want to be clear now, I'm using ChatGPT 03 Mini. And all I said was, what is the human drive to work and move forward? That's all I said. Okay. It says, our survival instincts are hardwired into our brains. Early humans had to work, hunt, gather, build to survive. This has evolved into neural reward systems like dopamine releases that reinforce behaviors essential for survival and progress. Essentially, the need to secure food, shelter, safety has set a foundation of work ethic and drive. Under physical motivations, it says, intrinsic motivation. This is the internal desire to achieve personal goals, learn new skills, and fulfill one's potential. Concepts like self-actualization, as described in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, illustrates how once our basic needs are met, we naturally seek to achieve higher levels of personal growth and fulfillment. Self-determination theory, the theory emphasizes the importance of autonomy, competence, and relatedness. When people feel they have control over their work and they are good at what they do and feel connected to others, they are more motivated to push forward. And then here's the last bit of it. Goal setting and achievement. Setting clear goals, whether personal or professional, creates a sense of purpose. The pursuit of these goals activities activates a reward cycle of achievement that fuels further motivation. This is not a thing I understood completely when I started. I started with, I can't believe I'm seeing people online make videos that are taking advantage of people's desire to do better for themselves and trapping them in that loop instead of helping them fulfill themselves. And we had this conversation. I asked myself a question that I did not know I was going to ask myself. And it turns out, I think I'm right. So like, and I'm a little surprised. I just want to be honest with everybody. I'm a little surprised by that. Okay. Like, all I did was see a thing. And so I'm sharing this not to pat myself on the back, but to make the point about trying. I saw a thing. I thought it was doing something bad. I have at my disposal the ability to talk to Erika, but I don't have the full thoughts to move that whole thing forward. So I lean on her, take her expertise. She pulls her expertise together, leans it back on me. I lend my cockeyed thoughts back to her, which gets her thinking about it. And we end up with the answer, which is, this is absolutely possible for you. Like, take this thing that's being done to you by your algorithm, by your Instagram, by somebody on YouTube, and instead of allowing them to trick you into believing that you're moving forward, actually take something in your life and move forward incrementally. And maybe at the end, you'll be like, wow, look at me. Look how far I came. I have that feeling right now, having created this series with you. And I think people could like take that. Like, I know it's not a podcast. Your life's not a podcast, but take it into your life and pick some boring part of yourself that could use a shine up and like put that towards it. I'm really happy with how this went. How about you?
That's good. Yes, I am too. And I think that starting the small, having the belief that you can change something is so important, right? Like that you were just kind of summarizing, reflecting. It does start with that.
Yeah.
Having the belief you can, and then implementing some of these steps, starting as small as you can and accepting where you are each day, not letting the fear or the need to be perfect or the shame interfere with that journey. Having the belief that you can and starting as small as you need to, I would say, are really important. Yeah.
I mean, listen, if you can take this series as an example and listen to Erika laughing 30 seconds ago, she's laughing because I'm like, oh, I can't believe this worked. And that happens a lot with you and I. But at the same time, like, to leave it with the podcast as an example, but stretch it out a little bit. I spoke to somebody the other day who told me that their daughter and they are healthier now because I shared my weight loss diary. But if you go back to the beginning of when I started sharing my weight loss diary, I got yelled at a lot by people for sharing my weight loss diary. I ignored them, kept doing it, and 2 years later, met a lady who said, I'm much healthier because of you. If I would have listened to the first voice that came at me, I would not have done that. This podcast as a whole, in the first month that I started it, I was approached by a person in the diabetes community who told me that I was doing the wrong thing by sharing how I manage my daughter's diabetes with people. She told me it was dangerous and I was going to hurt somebody. And 11 years later, there are thousands of reviews and tens of thousands of people who've listened whose A1Cs are better and they're happier and healthier. Why? Because I ignored the first voice that said to me, that's not how we do things here. Like, so you've got that voice in your head. That's not how we do things here. You tell that voice what I told that lady, go fuck yourself. And then 11 years later, here we are. Now, if it all would have fallen apart and not worked, where would the harm have been? Do you know what I mean? Like, I share my weight loss journey and no one ever says to me, hey, I'm doing better now because of you. No, like, nothing lost, nothing, there's not, what is it? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Is that the thing? Yeah.
Yes.
Just live your life by t-shirt slogans. It'll probably go fine.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And coffee mugs. Yeah.
Go
T-shirt
buy that.
slogans.
Listen,
Yeah.
Here's the real secret. Go buy that little book that Ben Franklin wrote. Poor Richard's Almanac of Common Sense, or whatever the hell it's called. Just read that. It's all right there. There were like 5 people in the world. He figured out every reasonable thing and he wrote it down. You know what I mean? Early to bed, early to rise, make a fire company, etc., and so on. Like, yeah, it's not hard to dream up the world when there's no world. It's all incredibly doable. It just really, I'm not a special person. Like, I'm just not. Do you know what I mean? And you don't need to be. I just bought a microphone and I was like, I know a thing. I'll say it into here and I'll see what happens. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And it worked out. Maybe something in your life will work out. That's all I'm trying to say. And back to my anger from the beginning of this, stop letting shiny people on YouTube tell you you're going to be rich if you just listen to them, or you're going to be this if you just do that, or just do that. Don't listen to them. Don't listen to me. Listen to yourself. Just put your shit in motion and get it done. I can't be in charge of everybody, Erika. It makes me upset.
Oh, gosh. We believe in you.
No, stop it. That was ridiculous. Although I would like to start a cult when this is all over.
Yeah. And you and I believe in, believing in all the people listening as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it. All I get when I think back over this conversation is that you've got some bad habits. You've got some good habits. You have some pre-wired things that are either helping you or getting in your way. Be aware of what they are. Pick something small, fix it, get a little momentum, throw it on something a little bigger. You wake up 11 years later, you have the biggest diabetes podcast in the world. Maybe. Like, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, you don't try it, you won't know. So also, please, nobody start a diabetes podcast. Put your efforts into something else. I'm already here. I enjoy, my space. I don't need you all like competing with me. I'm done. You know what I mean? Jesus, like find your own thing. I'm just start a diabetes podcast if you want to. What do I care? Just do the thing that's in your head. Like whether it's not buying Doritos or trying a thing or a new job or learning a skill. Like, yeah, guys, I wish you could be here. I wish you could have been here a year and a half ago when my son said, only a year removed from college, I didn't learn enough at college. And I have a job and it's a good job and I'm comfortable, but I need to understand more. Like I'm going to come home and I'm going to teach myself that thing. And he picked this incredibly difficult thing to teach himself. And 7 months later was gainfully employed with that knowledge. Like as he was doing it, if I would have had any amount of my parents in me, I would have been like, no way, buddy. Like you keep working at that job. That's a good job. You got a degree. It works for this. The kid pivoted on a dime. He was like, nope, boom, fixed it. And didn't like lay around lazy and like be like, oh, I'll get to it. Got up every day, made putting that new information in his head his job. I watched him do it every day for months and months and months. And then when he started applying for jobs, Erika, he must have gotten turned down for 400 jobs. Because the way you apply online nowadays, it's just you pump your resume out to everything. He had times where I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, he'd send a resume out and before he could like straighten up in his chair, he was rejected. like a bounce back email came back that was like, no, just kept going, So anyway, is there anything
That's
here?
The belief. That's the belief.
Yeah.
No, I love it. Yeah, it's the belief that he will get there. That's
because I said it earlier, but like, what's the alternative? You're alive anyway. You're getting up every day. You're washing your ass and brushing your teeth. You might as well like put all that effort into something that might move you forward versus something that's definitely just holding you where you are and making you sad. I know it's not that easy, Erika. I'm not stupid. I understand I've been doing this with you long enough.
Okay. Yeah, no, you knew I was going to say that.
I know what you're going to tell me. I almost don't need you anymore. I know what you're going to tell me. And I know and you shouldn't beat yourself up if it doesn't feel that way and et cetera and so on. But like, you shouldn't ignore the fact that there's a possibility somewhere that you could achieve that thing. I think bite-sized chunks are just such an important part of this, right? Like just don't shoot the moon right away. Just first step, go slow. That's all I got. All right, I've burned myself out, Erika. What do you got? Anything?
No, I think that's good. Yeah, if anything, from all of these episodes, if you're feeling either motivated or not, finding that one small thing, the 2-minute rule, or even smaller, whatever it is, and kind of working the steps, so to speak, is really, really crucial. Yeah.
I mean, one step at a time, right? That's all you can do. All right. I can't thank you enough. I'm excited to see what we're going to do next together. But for now, I think this puts a nice cap on goal setting and habit building and habit breaking. So I appreciate it very much.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you.
Both Erika and I hope that you enjoyed the series on goal setting. We wish you a ton of success breaking bad habits and setting new healthy habits for yourself. Please check out Erika at erikaforsyth.com. Erika's been on a ton of other episodes. You can find a full list at juiceboxpodcast.com up in the menu under mental wellness. And that same list exists in the private Facebook group under the featured tab. Today's episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the Dexcom G7. And the Dexcom G7 warms up in just 30 minutes. Check it out now at dexcom.com/juicebox. I start every day with a delicious drink of AG1, and I'm ending today's episode by reminding you to go to drinkag1.com/juicebox. Subscribe today to try the NextGen of AG1. If you use my link, you'll also get a free bottle of AG D3K2, an AG1 welcome kit, and 5 of the upgraded AG1 travel packs with your first order. So make sure to check it out with my link, drinkag1.com/juicebox. Links in the show notes, links at juiceboxpodcast.com. The conversation you just enjoyed was sponsored by Omnipod 5. You want to get an Omnipod 5? You can. You want to make me happy? Do it with my link, omnipod.com/juicebox. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back very soon with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. If you're not already subscribed or following the podcast in your favorite audio app like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please do that now. Seriously, just to hit follow or subscribe will really help the show. If you go a little further in Apple Podcasts and set it up so that it downloads all new episodes, I'll be your best friend. And if you leave a 5-star review, I'll probably send you a Christmas card. Would you like a Christmas card? My Diabetes Pro Tip series is about cutting through the clutter of diabetes management to give you the straightforward, practical insights that truly make a difference. This series is all about mastering the fundamentals, whether it's the basics of insulin, dosing adjustments, or everyday management strategies that will empower you to take control. I'm joined by Jenny Smith, who is a diabetes educator with over 35 years of personal experience, and we break down complex concepts into simple, actionable tips. The Diabetes Pro Tip series runs between episode 1000 and 1025 in your podcast player, where you can listen to it at juiceboxpodcast.com by going up into the menu. The episode you just heard was professionally edited by Wrong Way Recording. wrongwayrecording.com.